Guys, we're here to talk about two precious babies. Not one, but two. Gone behind one man by the name of Francois Browne, who is 36 years old. That means he's my age. Okay? A Baltimore jury found him, this guy right here, Francois Browne, guilty of beating his girlfriend's baby to death. How many of you guys are surprised yet another baby is dead behind women dating thugs? What is my hashtag? Hashtag, you date thugs, you date what? Death. You date thugs, you date death. And the reason I say this in this particular instance, and I am taking a shot at the mother. I was going to say I wasn't. No, I am taking a shot at the mother. I'm going to tell you why. Because the mother should have known he was a criminal. So once he got out of jail and started dating her, she should have known, if she didn't already know, that he was a criminal. If she did not do a simple background check, which me, the news station, and everybody else around America were able to do, and find out that this dude was already responsible for the death of another kid, then why would you not only date a guy like this, basically rewarding him for his bad actions, but then you produce a kid by him also? Don't you guys think that's irresponsible? I think that's quite a bit irresponsible. And I cannot make excuses for people when we're in the new millennium age where you can find information on people by a simple Google search. We've been able to do this for a lot of years now. Real simple thing to do, and we refuse to do background checks on people. Very crucial. We just continue to just keep procreating. Let's tell you guys about this story. He was found guilty of beating his girlfriend's baby to death. The verdict coming almost 5 years after he was convicted of killing his own son. I bet y'all didn't see that coming. Francois Browne was already convicted and did jail and prison time for killing his own son. Okay? The 36-year-old from Woodbourne Heights in North Baltimore faces life in prison after being found guilty Monday of second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in a death. His murder trial began last week in Baltimore Circuit Court and left jurors crying when they listened to a desperate 911 call from the baby's mother, and her name is Whitney West. That is the baby in question's mother's name, Whitney West. Okay? Now, outside of the courtroom, the mother, Whitney West, says she felt grateful Monday to see Francois Browne put away. She said, "I'm just blessed that the verdict was guilty," she said before walking off. And I have that videotape, excuse me, and I can show you guys that. Now, prosecutors say that Browne was walking her 18-month-old son back from the playground last year when he took the boy behind an apartment building to unleash the fatal blows. He beat the boy to death. Did I not just do a story earlier today, yesterday, the day before that, and all these other days, all year long, about stop beating children? We deem it wrong in our society to beat adults who can defend themselves, who are big enough to fight back, and who are grown enough to speak for themselves. But yet, some kind of weird way, we think this Neanderthal mindset of beating children is okay just because it was something that happened to us when we were growing up. And that's got to change. It's 2019. It is time to start parenting better. You guys understand where I'm coming from? Get another situation. And I'm going to keep bringing you guys examples of this to drive my point home. Okay? Now, once he took him behind the apartment building, he beat this boy up. Within hours, the little boy right here by the name of Zaray Gray. Zaray, Z-A-R-A-Y, Gray, G-R-A-Y or G-E-R-Y. I'm not sure which one it is. But he was 18 months old, and he was beat unconscious, and he never woke up. Now, Browne showed no reaction when the guilty verdict was read. Why? Because he's been through this already. So if he killed his own son, why would he care about a kid that he shares no DNA with? Right? During the trial, prosecutors had described him as easily angered, someone exhibiting a pattern of violent and abusive behavior toward children. The defendant meets women. Within a few months, their children are injured. Assistant State Attorney Michelle Lambert told the judge last week. Now, Browne served nearly 3 years in prison for the death of his own son in late 2012. I'll repeat. Francois Browne served 3 years in prison for the death of his son. 3 years. That's what we're doing? They give you more time for having drugs in your possession than they do for murder of a human being? Really? That's what we're doing? I would love for somebody to tell me where the logic is in that, because I don't get it. I'm going to show you his son, the one that he killed, right here. That little boy's name was Kendall Browne. Kendall, Kendall Browne. He shared his last name. And he was only 7 months old when he was murdered by his father, and he was hospitalized with rib fractures and bleeding to the brain. R.I.P. Young King. We're going to take a pen. We're going to bookmark that part of the story. We'll come back to talking about this young, beautiful little boy who is posthumous now. That was his son, Kendall Browne, who was only 7 months old when he met his demise at the hands of his own father, okay? We'll come back to talking about that beautiful little boy, okay? Now, in that case, Francois Browne submitted what's called an Alford plea. An Alford plea, which is a guilty plea without admitting culpability to child abuse resulting in death. Circuit Judge Timothy Dury sentenced him to 15 years in prison with all but 4 years suspended. Browne served 2 years and 11 months, and he was released in December of 2015. About 2 years later, Browne allegedly hurt another child, this time the daughter of a girlfriend. Prosecutors told a judge this month that Browne had bruised the little girl's ribs and broke her leg, but she survived, and Browne has not been charged for that one. Okay? That's a separate incident. Okay? And while you guys are watching, if you would, don't forget, I know we forget sometimes, make sure you click that thumbs up. Real easy thing to do. Make sure you click that thumbs up. What that does is it'll share our stream and let other people know that we're live. Thank you to those that have already clicked that thumbs up and made it blue. Just scroll down and look and make it blue. That'll share our stream, okay? Now, then Browne met Zaray's mother last year on this dating site. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this thing called Plenty of Fish or POF. Have any of you guys ever heard of that before? I have. I don't really get it. I don't really know how to use it, but nonetheless, I do know what it is. I have logged in before, but I haven't actually really met anybody on there. Anyway, West had moved to Baltimore from DC with her 3 children for the affordable rents. So, the mother, Whitney West, already had 3 kids. And she turned around and had a kid by Francois Browne, making that baby number 4. Everybody follow me so far? They found a 2-bedroom townhouse at the north end of Lincoln Park, and in testimony last week, West said Browne had an extra room that, West said Browne was an extra hand around the house at first. She also told the jury that Browne had mentioned the death of his son. Wow. So that just proves my point. She knew, and that makes her a bad mom. It does. If she knew, and you put somebody who has a tendency to murder children around your children, then that shows there is nothing that man can do for you that is more important than the safety of your own children. That means you're a selfish mom and you thought that little about your own flesh and blood children that you gave birth to. Inexcusable. There is no excuse for that great enough, especially the fact that not only are they confirming in this story that she knew beforehand, but a simple background check would have told you that too. So what does that tell us? She didn't care. And that sucks. And I think that maybe they need to take custody of the kids that she still has. Let's move on. Let's move on. Because you know they're not going to take custody from her. But let's move on. He had told her authorities that they tried to blame him, but he was cleared of the boy's death, West said, which was a lie. And he told me that he was not guilty. She testified, which was a lie because he was found guilty. In July of 2018, Browne walked West's 3 children to the neighborhood playground while she stayed behind to clean. They all came back and Zaray went down for a nap. Excuse me. Wait. Okay, I'm sorry. No. I said that they had a kid together. They did not have a kid together. So let me stricken that from the record and let me say that that's not his son. That was one of her 3 children. So my apologies if y'all are listening. This was one of the 3 children. Not him right here. Let me move past that because that was his actual son. That little boy right there was one of the 3 that she had. So she didn't have 4. That was 3. So my apologies. We corrected that while we were live, okay? Now, they all came back and Zaray went down for a nap. Later, West noticed that her son was not waking up. She listened, but he wasn't breathing. West called 911 and performed CPR on her baby. An autopsy found Zaray suffered a fractured clavicle, bruises to his face, and he had internal bleeding. Doctors found tears to his bowels, likely caused by the blows to the stomach. Man. Baby Zaray had been punched multiple times, Lambert told the jury. Blows so terrible that they tore his intestines on the inside. Y'all hear that? He hit this baby in the stomach so hard that it literally tore up his insides. He lost so much blood in his bowel that he eventually died. Man, holy hell. Let's keep going. Because I'm going to tell you guys, I know my stories might be a little hard to listen to, but I always tell you guys this. Don't stop listening. Keep listening. Continue to listen. I'm going to tell you why. Because the hardest thing that we have to do is just listen to the story. We don't have to go what this little boy went through. So nothing he went through even comes close to comparing just what we're listening to. So what we listen to is not nearly as bad as the hell that boy was put on this earth by dealing with Francois Browne, who ultimately beat the hell out of him and killed him. Okay? Now, jurors deliberated about a full day before convicting Browne, and he's scheduled to be sentenced on November the 7th. Right? Baltimore State Attorney Marilyn Mosby released a statement Monday calling the crime unfathomable. Excuse me, I cannot say that word. Unfathomable. Unfathomable. Y'all know what I'm trying to say. Anyway, any person who outright abuses a harmless and indefensible baby, y'all have heard me talk about that, lacks human decency and deserves to be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law and removed from society. Mosby wrote, "We certainly hope this guilty verdict brings deserved closure and offers the Reyes family a start toward healing." Now, let's keep going. His conviction comes amid a series of recent cases that show the violence facing Baltimore's children. Just 2 weeks ago, family and friends laid to rest a person by the name of Malachi Lawson. Maybe some of you guys up in the East Coast have heard of him. Malachi Lawson was a 4-year-old who was burned in a scalding bath, and his body was then tossed in a dumpster in Baltimore. Police charged his mother and her wife with his death. Don't mistake what I just said. His mother and wife. Then a jury convicted Keon Gray, Keon, of second-degree murder for shooting 7-year-old Taylor Haynes during a gunfight in the streets of West Baltimore last summer. A stray bullet hit the girl in her back. On Wednesday, a Waverly gang member is to be sentenced in federal court for a wild shootout that left another child bystander, 3-year-old Mackenzie Elliott, fatally shot in the head. Savagery, man. It's just savagery. Let's go ahead and show you guys the news videos. They had enough of them, so we're going to show the news videos. Federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without the authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use. It is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 U.S.C. 107. Again, guys, don't forget, click that thumbs up when you come in, okay? Let's go.
More tonight about a man convicted in a child abuse death nearly 5 years ago, now facing similar charges in the death of an 18-month-old boy. The first victim was his son, and now his girlfriend's child is dead. WMAR2 News' Jeff Hager has more on the alleged crime.
When paramedics arrived at the Forest Glen townhomes in northwest Baltimore for an unresponsive child, it didn't take long for them to spot evidence that 18-month-old Zaray Gray had been beaten. According to charging documents, bruises appeared on his forehead, his neck, his chin, and all down his right side. He would die shortly after arriving at Sinai Hospital.
When our investigation began, we saw visible signs of injury, but once some x-rays were done, saw a broken bone, and then the medical examiner confirmed that the death was a result of a homicide.
Police soon learned Zaray's mother had left him in the care of her boyfriend, 35-year-old Francois Browne, who told her he had taken the young boy to the playground where he had fallen while going down a slide.
Oftentimes in child abuse cases, we hear stories about the child fell out of a bed, fell off of the monkey bars, or what have you. But our investigation proves otherwise. So whatever the excuses are, the physical evidence showed a different story.
That evidence included the multiple bruises, many of which were circular in nature, consistent with finger marks. The autopsy also revealed multiple lacerations and tears to the toddler's bowels, likely caused by multiple blows to the abdomen.
He had custody of the child at the time this incident occurred. And again, what's even sadder is this man had a situation in the past.
That's right. Now I'm looking at the thumbs up. I know I've asked people to click the thumbs up. We're at we're at 107 thumbs up, but we have 165 people watching. I've always asked, if you're not going to contribute financially, that's fine. You don't have to. At least click the thumbs up. That's very simple to do. Y'all don't have to worry about me stopping the story if you just do the little things. Please, that's all I'm asking, is just click the thumbs up, guys. That's it. That's all we're waiting on. Just click that thumbs up.
This incident occurred, and again, what's even sadder is this man had a situation in the past where a child in his custody died as a result of a homicide, and this just seems like a system failure, where it's just unfair to the child that was put in harm's way.
There are two playgrounds at the center of this case right now. The first playground, also called the...
Just to let you know, Mark Pinckney, the GoFundMe has already happened. But I'll tell you this. The one thing that I will defend as far as the mother, the GoFundMe only asked, I think, for like either $1,000 or $1,500. It wasn't much. And they've already collected the GoFundMe money, and it's already, I think it's already closed out. Yes, there was a GoFundMe. It's already met its goal, and it was closed out. So yeah, that part is kind of minor compared to the rest of the story. Let's keep going, guys. Click that thumbs up when y'all come in. Let's keep going. I got more videos coming up, okay? Click that thumbs up. Thank you.
Wrong playground and the second playground, or the right playground. And on Thursday, the tale of two playgrounds stretched into a second day of testimony at the trial of the man accused of murdering a baby last summer, 17-month-old Zaray Gray. The prosecution version of events: on the morning of July 18, 2018, Francois Browne took his then-girlfriend's 3 kids outside to play, walked them from their home to this playground, a block away with shortcuts. Zaray fell off the bottom of a slide, and on the way home, the state says, Browne took a shortcut with just the baby, ducked behind a building, and delivered a deadly beating. The playground, slides, the shortcut, central to the state's case. And that's why the defense tried to seed some doubt with the...
Guys, look at how little he is. God, what could this boy have done that was that bad to deserve to get the guts beat out of you? Literally, he beat his insides apart. Ripped his insides, his intestines apart. What did this smiling, happy, little bitty boy do that was only 18 months old? What did he do that was that bad that you just so-called snap? Somebody need, man, Man, shoot.
Jury. Public defender pointing out police didn't look at the right playground until a month ago. For the whole year prior, they'd focused on the wrong one, the Windsor Hills play lot. There goes the whole shortcut theory, the defense argued. But the lead detective was unflappable and explained he didn't have the right playground at the outset because regular police aren't allowed to interview kids. And so, for some time, Zaray's siblings only talked with trained professionals at the Baltimore Child Abuse Center. The jury today also heard about Francois Browne's previous murder conviction for the 2012 beating death of his 7-month-old son, Kendall. In both of the cases, Browne was alone with the baby for the very first time, and in both of the cases, the defense tried to shift some of the blame onto an older child. Closing arguments are expected tomorrow. Reporting live downtown tonight, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL. Emotions spilled outside.
Now, for the people that are watching that wanted to see the mother's reaction, this is that video. If not this one, it's the very next one. So here we go. This is it.
Emotions spilled outside the courthouse after the Monday verdict. Prosecutors hugging on the sidewalk. Family members wiping away tears while waiting for the light. This was an emotional case. A baby was murdered. And family members.
I believe the woman in the blue pants is the mother, Whitney West, in the blue pants. Hopefully y'all can see that. I know my video is a little bit small, but here, let's listen.
wiping away tears while waiting for the light. This was an emotional case. A baby was murdered in Baltimore last July. His name, Zarae Gray, and he wasn't even 18 months old. Here's his mom, Whitney West.
Let me point something else out. Something that Tommy talks about all the time. The fact that this kid wasn't even 2 years old. He was only 6 months past his first birthday, and she's already on to the next man. That is disgusting. That's foul.
Name, Zarae Gray, and he wasn't even 18 months old. Here's his mom, Whitney West.
I'm still kind of processing it all. This whole year, I just felt like I was in a movie. So it has impacted me tremendously. And I'm blessed that the verdict was guilty.
An entirely circumstantial case. After 5 days of testimony, the jury had a verdict in less than 5 hours, deciding Zarae Gray was murdered, beaten to death by his mother's ex-boyfriend, Francois Browne. Prosecutors feeling
like justice was served.
Yeah. The jury agreed with the state that Browne was the only person with the strength, boyfriend Francois Browne. Prosecutors feeling
like justice was served.
Can anybody explain where the smiles are coming from? If I said what was really in my heart right now, I would get flagged down. So I'm going to pass for now. For now. Let's move on.
Yeah. The jury agreed with the state that Browne was the only person with the strength, opportunity, and motive to beat a baby to death while walking home from the playground. At trial, the defense tried to shift the blame, including onto other children. Today,
can I get your reaction to the verdict?
No, I have no comment. Thank you.
There were other comments from Zarae Gray's family. They told us they are grateful that they're feeling relieved, but also said this is not over. There is the sentencing coming up on November 7th. And of course, there is a baby that will never come home. Reporting live from the courthouse downtown, I'm Kate Amara, Inside Sinai Hospital, the night of July 18th, 2018, a police body cam was rolling as doctors told Zarae Gray's mother and father their baby had died. Emotional doesn't do it justice. The footage was gut-wrenching. Up in room 404 of Courthouse East, most in the gallery were crying, and some members of the jury were too. The video made an impact. It also signaled where the case was going.
Click that thumbs up, guys. Click that thumbs up. Thank you.
In the gallery were crying, and some members of the jury were too. The video made an impact. It also signaled where the case was going. Baltimore homicide detectives in the room offered the adults a ride down to headquarters in an unmarked car. Doctors asked about Zarae Gray's visible injuries. Did he fall at all? Was he roughhousing? A doctor asked because when we were doing CPR, we noticed he has a lot of bruises. What? The mother asked. So the doctor continued, we wanted to find out if he fell or anything. A fall is one theory the defense is floating at this trial. A fall at this playground, which the jury saw pictures of today. It's close to the family home, has a big slide 6 feet high and a little one too. According to testimony, this is where Francois Browne took the kids to play that morning. The state says on the way home, he took the baby behind a building and delivered a deadly beating. The defense pointed out, though, investigators were focused on the wrong playground for much of the year leading up to the trial. During cross-examination, the detective admitted he didn't send forensics out to photograph this one, the right one, until last month. Mr. Browne, the defendant, also mentioned the playground slide in his police interviews, which, by the way, were not flattering. He was evasive. He refused to give his address to a detective, and he attempted to shift some of the blame onto the baby's brother and sister, who were 6 and 7 years old at the time. Reporting live downtown, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News. Zare Gray was just 17 months old when he died last summer. Just a baby, as you can see from these GoFundMe page photos, still in onesies. And
I'm going to back it up so y'all can see the GoFundMe right here.
Zare Gray was just 17 months old when he died last summer.
Right there. There was a $1,000 goal and they reached $1,800. So for the people that wanted to know about the GoFundMe, there it is. I don't think that's that bad for a GoFundMe. That's a good sign, but this whole situation should have never have happened. This baby was only 18 months, less than 2 years old, only 6 months past the year old, and you're already on to a new boyfriend. And not only a new boyfriend, but you leave your less than 2-year-old with a man who was convicted, which you knew about, for killing his own kid. That's inexcusable, Whitney West. Inexcusable.
Just a baby, as you can see from these GoFundMe page photos, still in onesies and diapers. 1 year later, as his family packed into a 4th-floor courtroom downtown, prosecutor Michelle Lambert told the jury Zare was murdered by his mother's boyfriend, defendant Francois Browne. On July 18, 2018, she says, after breakfast at their home on Forest Glen Road, the 1-year-old boy went to the playground with his big brother and sister and Francois Browne. And on the way home, prosecutors say, Browne ducked behind a building with the baby and delivered a beating so severe Zare would die from his injuries at the hospital that night. It is abuse that Zare's big brother, Zakai, nearly 9 now, apparently saw. Called as the state's second witness, Zakai told the jury on the walk back home that morning he saw Francois Browne yanking on his baby brother's arm, which made the baby cry and make a sad face. During cross-examination, public defender Ann Stewart Hall did what she promised to do in her opening statement, dispute the state's timeline. When was Zare fatally injured and who caused the injuries? She asked the 3rd grader about the baby falling off the slide that morning and about the time he may have been kicked in the face by another sibling.
Somebody's asking, or excuse me, Mark is asking about the baby father. If anybody knows anybody in Baltimore that is familiar with this story, who knows who Whitney West's baby dad is, let me know or have him reach out to me. I'd be happy to talk to him about this. And I agree with Les Ride, and they said she should be locked up as well. The reason why I believe that, while that would be a fair thing, is because of the fact that you knowingly put your children in danger, knowing what he was locked up and did time for. Sorry, I'm sorry, there is nothing on this earth that should be more important than your children. Ladies and gentlemen, nothing on this earth is more important than your children. Let's move on.
And though she tried to parse his words and his testimony like any other witness, he was still so obviously just a kid. He also remembered eating Skittles and getting Starburst that day. And in one moment that was sad and heartening at the same time, he said he was watching the Captain Underpants movie when he heard his mother start to scream and perform CPR on his baby brother. Reporting live downtown, I'm Kate Amara, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, this is the last.
Francois Browne.
This is the last video right here, and then we're going to wrap up.
Francois Browne is charged with murder in the death of a baby. Testimony today focused on the day 17-month-old Zare Gray died. His relatives were in court as the boy's mother, Whitney West, told jurors within a couple of hours after her son died, Baltimore police were questioning her and Browne, her former boyfriend. She said, quote, "I was still in shock. I was crying like crazy, confused and sad. I got kind of my soul left my body, in a sense." She also said when she had noticed the child was unresponsive, she performed CPR. "I was focused on trying to revive him. My main focus was trying to bring him back." West said it was after Zare died that Browne told her the boy had fallen at the playground. But Dr. Maria Soriano, the physician who saw Zare after he was rushed to Sinai Hospital on July 19th of last year, testified the child's injuries were not consistent with a fall. The boy, she said, arrived at the hospital in cardiac arrest. His heart had stopped beating and never started again. She noticed bruises, circular in nature, on the boy's forehead, under his right chin, the side of his chest, and his abdominal area. And he had a broken collarbone. Defense attorney Ann Stewart Hall asked if Zare could have been dead before arriving at the hospital and if something other than fingertips could have caused the bruising. To both questions, the doctor answered, possibly. Now, the assistant medical examiner told jurors that Zare had multiple internal and external injuries, some of those injuries consistent with being hit by an adult hand or fist, and some of those injuries also happening within hours of his death. Reporting live from downtown Baltimore, Barry Sims, WBAL-TV, 11 News.
I wish they stopped making that loud sound at the end of their videos. Boo, boo. Sorry. It's just a pet peeve of mine. Now, this guy right here, again, his name is Francois Browne, 35 years old. Let me go back to his photo because I want to make sure that we talk about him for a moment. Now, I'm going to pause it right here. The one kid on the right was his actual son that he murdered in 2012. This kid right here is Whitney West's kid, one of her 3 kids that she had, and that's Zare Gray, who the one that was murdered in 2018 by Francois Browne. Now, he faces a maximum sentence of life in prison plus 40 years. Did you guys catch that? He faces a maximum sentence of life in prison plus 40 years, and Browne will be facing plus 40 years and an additional 11 years for a probation violation due to his probation from the 2012 murder. Now, his sentencing is set for November the 7th, and I hope they throw the entire book at this fool because nothing they can do is gonna bring back either 2 of these kids. But the least they can do is at least set a precedence that this has got to stop. They need to throw the whole book at this dude. Now, I was gonna tell you guys the story of the other kid. It's not even necessary at this point. You guys kind of understand as far as basically everything that happened. You understand the major details in this story. And again, all I can do at this point, because we know we have a lot of women that have a lot of kids with a whole bunch of dudes that for whatever reason are not in these kids' lives. So if you don't care about the baby's father, if nothing else, I'm begging my ladies, stop just dating men. Just willy-nilly putting kids around these boyfriends. I keep telling you guys and keep trying to show you guys with examples that it's a very deadly game to play. If you want to date thugs and date death, then I encourage you, do not have children or have your children around them. It's best to date them when you don't have kids. Have all your fun dating your thugs without your kids. If you got kids, you don't have the right to be that irresponsible. You know why? Because children cannot speak for themselves, nor can they defend themselves from the tyranny of their caretakers. And this woman took 1 or 2 of her other kids with her and left this little kid with this convicted child murderer. And what did he do? Murdered another kid. Congratulations. In my opinion, and this is why I keep saying what I keep saying, caretakers, parents, or custodial parents that have put their children in hurt, harm, or danger should never have a second opportunity to murder children. He already had one opportunity to murder a kid and got out in 3 years. He was hella lucky to get out as early as he did. But he got a second chance to be around children, and he took advantage of it, and now we have yet another kid dead. I'll say that again. No parent who puts their children, or caretaker who puts their children in danger should ever have a second opportunity to kill another kid or put another kid in danger. We need to start setting the precedents for that now. And hopefully we can save some lives going forward. We're going to continue to keep presenting these stories as merely cautionary tales, because that's all we can do. These kids are not going to come back, and we'll never know what they could have grown up to be. And it's just so sad that you have these beautiful, smiling faces that are the most innocent things ever, the most beautiful things ever, the most fun things ever, the most awesome things ever, and we don't cherish these little babies, and I just don't understand that. So let me say this. I want to give an RIP to baby Kendall Browne. Let me show him real quick, if I can get to his photo, which was his first son that he murdered. I'm going to give a prayer hands up for this 7-month-old baby. His name was Kendall Browne. RIP, young king. RIP. Let's go ahead and move on to the next photo. This one right here. This is Zare Gray. He was only 18 months old. RIP, young king. RIP. Okay. Thank you guys so much for listening to this stream. This is your boy DJ Just Jay. We are the AFC. This is what we do. We advocate for children first. Screw y'all feelings, and if y'all get mad about what we say, we're not worried about that. We're here to try to raise awareness and save these children. That's our mission, okay? If you see something, please say something, okay? Thank you guys so much, man. Throw the book at him. Get him out of here. He never needs to see society or another kid again. That's the end of the stream.